subsistence farms, crafts, little businesses. This is what most people picture when they hear talk of an intentional Christian community. Such communities usually center around a farm or some sort of cottage industry. However, this video gives the general public a good look inside a Christian movement that is quite different to others. They are a collective of different communities around the world that compare themselves to Jesus and his 12 apostles, and to the members of the early church, whose primary reason for living together was to go into all the world preaching the gospel. And they do that without any visible means of support. No one in these communities works for money, and they have no denominational support network. They do not even fundraise. Yet they report that all of their basic needs are met day after day and year after year. In this video, the first of two, we will hear from individuals of all ages, both sexes, and several nationalities, living on 5 different continents. They will tell you something about their faith, their lifestyle, what they like and what they dislike about living in this way. And we will hear some candid talk about exactly how they managed to survive. Some of them have been living like this for close to 50 years. They have been involved in extremely high-profile events, often attracting the attention of the world's media. But at the same time, the religious world has been almost unanimously silent about their existence. Congregations everywhere appear to have been kept intentionally ignorant of what this unique movement teaches, rather than risk losing people to their way of life by publicly acknowledging their existence. In the last year, however, these tiny communities have burst into the public eye in a way that has seen their numbers double almost overnight. And this is after more than 40 years of virtually no growth. The catalyst has been a focus on spreading their message through YouTube channels, the most significant one being called A Voice in the Desert. The church world is starting to stir as these radical Christians expose conventional Christianity and openly teach that obedience to what Jesus taught in the 4 Gospels is what Christianity is all about. They say that what Jesus taught is what true Christianity has always been about, even though they insist that no one else anywhere in the world is teaching such obedience. There are ripples of discontent and growing anger from religious people who have taken offense at such extreme claims and at such equally extreme nonconformity. So where do they stand doctrinally? Listen to how members of this movement define a Christian. You may find their answers amazingly and perhaps even disturbingly simple.
A Christian is someone who has Jesus' teachings and obeys them.
To me, a Christian is somebody who follows the teachings of Jesus.
A Christian is somebody who resembles what Christ did and said.
Para mí, un cristiano o cristiana es una persona que se compromete completamente con seguir a Jesucristo. Cueste lo que cueste.
If I was a Buddhist and I would say I follow Buddha, then I will say these are the teachings that I follow of Buddha. And I would say I started following Christ whenever I made a decision to follow his teachings.
A Christian is somebody who obeys Jesus.
A Christian is somebody who follows God, not just some church people, but somebody who actually does what Jesus says and actually follows it.
For me, a Christian is a person who does what Jesus Christ was doing when he was here in the flesh.
The reaction for most of us who consider ourselves to be safe, middle-of-the-road traditional Christians is one of consternation. Yes, true, a Christian is a follower of Jesus. Can't fault that. But there is something in the way this movement states it with such confidence that scares us too. It sounds almost fanatical. Is such unquestioning obedience to the teachings of Jesus really what modern-day Christianity teaches? Is it what we believe ourselves? Older community members in particular go further in stressing that their obedience is not perfect, and so their salvation necessarily involves forgiveness and grace from God. But this still assumes that grace only becomes available if one is making a serious effort to obey Jesus. They claim that if you are not at least trying to obey Jesus, then there is no case for claiming God's forgiveness.
Before I was aware of Jesus' teachings and I was walking in the truth as I understood it, I don't believe that I would have gone to hell as such. I believe that Jesus' sacrificial death would have made it possible for me to still be allowed entry into heaven. But once you do become aware, and once I did become aware of what Jesus taught and the need to practice them, to the extent that I was refusing to do so, I think that would have put me in a position to not be granted entry into heaven.
I became a Christian first when I accepted the superiority of the teachings of Jesus, and also when I recognized what Jesus did for me.
A Christian is someone who, before they know about the teachings of Jesus, somebody who's trying to follow the truth that they know.
We may not even have heard of Jesus, but the Holy Spirit will communicate to us what is right and what is wrong, following that Spirit that leads us into all righteousness and leads us to love. And I think that person would qualify as someone who's a follower of the Lord, whether or not they know Him as Jesus.
I think a Christian doesn't try to twist it around and get out of what Jesus said. I don't consider myself a fully Christian. I want to be a fully Christian.
These Christians are not bashful about voicing specific teachings of Jesus that they profess to follow. In particular, they bluntly say that Jesus requires His followers to forsake all that they owned and to stop working for material wealth. They say that Jesus starts with those requirements because it is only as we stop working for money that we become free to start working for Jesus. In particular, it frees them up to go into all the world and preach the good news, which is their avowed third step to worldwide revival.
La enseñanza de renunciar a todo me desafiaba mucho, pero hasta que tomé la decisión de hacerlo y finalmente lo hice, eso marcó como el comienzo de mi vida cristiana, de mi vida, de empezar a depender totalmente de Dios.
A Christian is for me not only to say a little prayer to God, it's working for God and not for money.
El primer paso para ser un cristiano es renunciar a todo lo material.
A Christian is a disciple of Jesus Christ. Luke 14 says you have to forsake all to be a disciple. So saying that a Christian is a disciple means you got to forsake all. I have been a self-proclaiming Christian though for about 4 years now, going to church. Since I've actually started obeying, that's when I've been able to consider myself to be a real Christian.
He says in Luke 14:33, unless you forsake all, you cannot be my disciple. I guess the time I would define myself as becoming a Christian would be when I did leave everything of my old life. My old job, I left my family, I left my wife, I left my child, and I forsook all to follow Christ.
With that understanding of what such a Christian movement would be like, another question comes to mind. Does life in such communities produce faith or love which is recognizably different to the faith and love that is practiced or shown by more traditional congregations, or for that matter, by other more traditional Christian communities? Listen to how members on 5 different continents describe a typical day.
Actividades regulares son como hacer escuelita, salir a repartir, predicar, cocino, limpieza, contactarse con personas vía email. Estoy empezando a hacer edición de videos. Me dedico a aprender a arreglar bicis. La crianza de los niños, compartir con ellos. También estoy aprendiendo a entender y poder pronunciar el inglés.
My husband and I, we like doing reps, which is running 400 meters as fast as we can 6 times. We have about 3.5 minutes rest between each one.
I also went to a karaoke as part of kind of an interesting exercise to get myself out of myself. I sang Don't Worry, Be Happy.
I enjoy watching movies and reading books like anyone else would.
Studying my verse cards.
Translating stuff from English to Spanish.
Podemos jugar fútbol, un ajedrez, cartas o escuchar un poco de música, cantar, varias cosas. Es divertido también, no es como estar en una iglesia y aburridos.
Yo hago escuelita en casa. Mi mamá me enseña a jugar. Es lo que más hago. A veces hago escuelita bíblica y a veces me porto mal y voy a la pared.
Their list of activities may sound ordinary, but one very significant difference is their enthusiasm for evangelism. Some members speak of preaching the gospel for as much as 8 hours a day, while other nominally Christian communities would be busy with subsistence farming or cottage industries. These disciples of Jesus are out on the streets preaching or bent over a computer producing evangelistic videos day after day and week after week. In less than 2 years, they have produced more than 250 videos and distributed more than 300,000 pieces of Christian literature. This form of grassroots evangelism, coupled with the internet, could have quite a powerful impact globally in a very short period of time. And this is especially true when the people doing the outreach have a style of witnessing that enthuses them because it does not rely on complex theological arguments.
We distribute basically every day. And distributing is where you hand out books or DVDs or comics, and we just ask the people for a few cents donation to just cover the printing cost or whatever.
Salir a repartir tiene que ver con tomar responsabilidad, organizarme y encontrar un lugar donde sienta que Dios me lleve a poder compartir el mensaje a las personas, con libros, con las enseñanzas de Jesús. Más que todo es poder escuchar a las personas y saber sabiamente cómo traer un mensaje que no suene como religioso, ya que están muy bombardeados por toda la hipocresía que hay en las religiones.
I go out with a few other people and we go and distribute tracts with the teachings of Jesus on them. I go up to them because I want to make their day better. And so even if they don't want to take the CD that I have to give them, I still want to make sure that they're doing okay. It's always what I wanted to do, so that's really cool. Before living this way, it's really hard to set time aside for people when they need it because you have so many other things pulling you away, that you have other responsibilities. And so whenever someone is upset on the streets, I really love being able to just tell someone, whenever you need me, I'm here for you. I don't know you, but I want to.
The best part is, for me, is distribution, getting to meet new people, finding out different things from different backgrounds, and just seeing God work through people in miraculous ways.
Cuando salgo a repartir, me parece muy interesante que muchas personas aceptan con amabilidad que les podamos entregar un mensaje de amor como es las enseñanzas de Jesús. Pensé que iba a ser más difícil, más confrontativo, pero me sorprendió mucho poder ver cómo Dios tenía su mano puesta ahí cuando empecé a repartir y cómo está siempre ayudándome a que la gente pueda aceptar este mensaje y llevarlo consigo.
The part I liked best is sharing the truth. That is when you're sharing with people, there's that joy and confidence to know that you are telling them the truth that Jesus has spoken.
The part that I liked best was meeting new people and encouraging them and sharing my faith with them.
I've naturally been inclined towards evangelism. I love people. I love getting out there on the streets and sharing my faith. With the arrival of the YouTube ministry, my ministerial work has been involved in the writing process for some scripts and brainstorming material, which has been great fun.
At the moment, we're handing out videos, which are on the Voice in the Desert channel.
I didn't expect that I will be doing video editing.
One of the main things I'm doing at the moment is video editing. It takes quite a while just to do 1 minute of video editing. It might take you a whole day, but it's really enjoyable work. You're working with a message that's so profound.
While many more people have joined the movement over the last year because of videos that they've watched on YouTube, those who joined more than a year ago virtually all did so as a result of getting a piece of literature face to face from someone on the streets.
I was walking down the street one day and I bumped into 3 disciples out witnessing on the street. They introduced me to the teachings of Jesus.
I met somebody on the street passing out literature, and I took it away and I devoured it that night. After about 18 months, that was when I decided to take the leap of faith and jumped on board, and I haven't looked back since.
There's a book I'd read some time back. It took me 10 years for me to be ready, so that's when I got in touch with them, and from there I've been with them ever since.
I was out with some of my friends and we met some people out on the street, so I got a piece of literature from them. I was searching before I got that, so it came to me at the right time.
I've got a piece of literature. I got a book in the city on a busy street on a Friday night, and it just changed my life.
Even today, people continue to join because of others who are still faithfully going out on the streets day after day, preaching their message of faith and love. It is a very grassroots concept of evangelism, but it seems to be working, even if only gradually.
I came to be a part of this group through receiving a DVD on the street.
My wife and I became a part of the community by a brother inside of the community distributing CDs out on the street.
The first question that springs to mind when people hear about such a movement surviving without paid jobs and without a denomination of wage earners to support them is almost always the same. How do they survive? Who pays the bills? Members of the community do their best to explain, but often it goes over the heads of the people that they speak to.
There's no system for living by faith. If there was a system, it wouldn't be living by faith. I was sharing my faith with somebody who was asking about how does God provide for your needs? And just at that time, a person came up, slapped £10 into my hand and walked off, not even giving me enough chance to say thank you. And the guy that I was speaking to sort of looked at me in that moment, having had his question answered, with a bemused look, but a look where he was starting to think in a different way.
We're trying to help people, we're trying to do good. And I think that's something that even complete strangers can recognize. And sometimes they feel inspired by that and they want to help out. Sometimes they donate their time, sometimes they donate resources, sometimes they donate cash.
Some of the ways that God had met my material needs would have to be through going out and just preaching the gospel. That's the main way. I just go out, preach the gospel, and everything I need for that day gets provided.
When we're preaching the gospel, we just ask people if they're willing to share anything. And anything could be food, could be drinks, could be a coupon, could be a gift card.
When people join the Christian community, they sell everything they have. And like it says in Acts chapters 2 and 4, that the proceeds were laid at the feet of the apostles and it was shared amongst the community. And so, with those funds, we're able to cover expenses and do projects, print up literature to distribute.
My wife and I have gone to shops and asked for if they've got any leftover food, like particularly bakeries and that sort of thing that at the end of the day they're just going to throw out, and they'll often just be very happy. Oh yes, and they load you up with bags of bread and maybe cakes, or if it's a veggie shop they might give you some vegetables and things.
You sort of get used to it. You're just sort of going throughout your day, and then you stumble across like a meal, or just somehow someone gives you something randomly. We were sitting in a park, I think we were just had someone come on board, so we were talking with them, and then a guy showed up with 3 shopping carts full of food and just gave it to us. He's like, "Hey, we're not using this. Do you guys want it?"
I even had a time where I opened up the door to the RV to go out in the morning, and right next to the door was 16 eggs. Don't know where those came from, but it's pretty cool.
Just last night we found like 250 chocolate bars, about 15 kilograms of it. I was on my way back to Australia, got stuck in Singapore for a week while waiting for a flight. There was only one flight a week. I was out witnessing with a couple of other Christian brothers and sisters, and an American guy came up to me and he said what I was doing. I said I was out witnessing for Jesus. He said, "Look, here, go and buy yourself a pair of jeans if you're going to be out witnessing for Jesus," and he gave me $50.
I got a watch and I lost it, and then I really wanted another one, and then my sister and my grandmother found a whole bag of watches with batteries, and I was so happy. We get a lot of the stuff from the Woolworths and Coles bins. The workers, they see us and they bring out more food for us. So they're really nice about it. And we find stuff a lot. Yeah.
Se me habían quedado roto las medias y me creció el pie y me quedaban chicas, y después le dije a mamá que teníamos que conseguir otras, y después vino mi hermana y me dijo que toma, porque mi abuela me mandó algo, unas medias, y vino una señora y me trajo también unas medias. Ellas no sabían que necesitaba yo, y siento que Dios me lo proveyó. Sí, que siento que Dios lo regala zapatos, coronas, vestidos y muchos juguetes y comida, y parece que Dios lo está mimando, y eso está bien.
I came to Argentina with my wife, and we had some money that we put for rent for a few months. When that rent was about to be used up, we were out on the streets offering people free work, meaning that we would offer our services to help them out in anything that they wanted help with, on the condition that we would do it for free, that they wouldn't give us any money in exchange for our services. And somebody asked us if we could teach them English, and so we agreed to do that. And when we went, they told us that they buy apartments, fix them up and sell them, and they said that they could offer us to stay in one of their apartments for free, which was fully furnished, and we were able to stay there for free for almost a year.
Mi hijo estaba teniendo como una necesidad con respecto a unas zapatillas, y esa misma semana fuimos a repartir, y lo loco es que había una bolsita que tenía preparados una zapatilla, había un cartelito que decía tome lo que necesite, y había una zapatilla justo para él.
God provided food for 22 people and a newborn baby through an individual who donated nearly 700 pounds of food to the community just in time for a 2-week fellowship retreat.
Our basic needs are met through God. He talks about Matthew 6, about he'll provide food and clothing. And actually, for the time being, he's provided more than that. But we are preparing for a time where we're just going to be focused on food and clothing. He provides in a lot of different avenues. But number one, God, He provides.
Yo estaba andando en bici así por la calle con mi mamá, y le empecé a decir: mami, me duele mucho el asiento, es muy duro. Y me dijo: bueno, puedes orar a ver si algún día Dios te da. Y de repente estábamos por subir un puente, y mamá vio un asiento de bici, así que me lo cambió cuando llegamos a casa, y me resultaba más cómodo que el otro que tenía.
Part of the door on one of the vehicles fell off and we needed a drill to fix it. So I went over to the bin and lifted up the lid and found a drill. Praise God.
You know, I've had someone that gave me a nice watch, or sometimes people buy me coffees. I did have a guy that also, when I was distributing once before, he gave me a jumper that he had on his person, and that was quite touching.
The critics start by saying it's impossible, and then when they hear all the different ways that God uses to take care of us, they condemn every one of them. I often refuse to give examples. If they seriously think the creator of the universe can't feed his followers, then nothing I can say is going to convince them otherwise.
We may not have it perfect, but I think we're moving in the right direction.
So is God really providing? Or are they just users, taking from society but not giving anything back? This Teachings of Jesus movement argues that it all depends on how much you want to defend money and how much you want to defend this concept of Jesus providing a blueprint for how to do it. A similar dilemma seems to confront people with regard to whether they are, in fact, living simply or living luxuriously. Even amongst their own membership, it seems to depend on each person's outlook. To start with, different communities within the movement have different types of accommodation.
Currently, we are accommodated by 3 RVs.
At the moment, I travel in a camper van with my wife, so it's just a van that we kind of furbished a bit ourselves. It's got a bed and a fridge and solar power.
At the moment, I'm living in a 2-bedroom house. It's quite a change from all of the RVs that I've generally lived in over the years.
I live in a bus.
We are called peppercorn tenants, which means that we can stay here without paying a penny in terms of rent. So it was very much gifted to us.
Currently, I am living in a dormitory-style facility constructed of recycled shipping containers.
We don't have a washer or dryer, but we just hand wash our clothes, string them on the line like they did in the good old days.
My current kind of accommodation is a motorhome, and it has a shower built in and cooking facilities, and it's great because we're able to get from town to town and just reach out.
There's 5 of us that travel around in that, and we sometimes have visitors who come and stay with us for a few days.
Lo que Dios nos proveyó es un apartamento de 2 habitaciones. He hecho algunos cambios para que haya más habitaciones. Por ejemplo, hay una terraza, se hizo un geodésico y eso sirve como habitación también. Incluso a veces usamos carpas.
El domo es como una casita que construimos nosotros. Se parece a la casa de los pitufos.
This is my office. I stay up here on the bed, out of Cherry's way. We hang towels in the toilet when I need a recording studio, and we have solar panels on the roof that keep the laptop charged. This little table makes into a bed for visitors.
I came to realize that living by faith isn't about living in vehicles, it's not about sleeping rough, it's not about any particular form of accommodation or any particular form of provision. It's whatever God gives, whatever God provides in any particular moment or period of time for any particular reason. So we could be sleeping in 5-star hotels or we could be sleeping on a park bench. It really doesn't matter. It's whatever God provides.
Accommodation aside, what is it like to actually live in whatever they have? Is it cramped and miserable, luxurious and carefree, or a bit of both? What do the disciples like best about their new lifestyle, and what do they like least? I found a lot who said that close fellowship and camaraderie is the best thing about their lifestyle. In contrast, what many of them miss most is long, hot showers. But there are other things as well, both good and bad.
When I first started, the hardest thing for me was, I gotta say, to let go of some of my personal space. The roughest situation that I've had to endure would probably be when we were in Texas and it was really, really cold. One of the RVs that we were staying in didn't have a heater. And so it was like we woke up in the morning and we couldn't feel our fingers or our toes, and then we just saw our breath. It was crazy.
When I started, the hardest thing for me, I think, was the language, because English language is my second language.
The hardest part was now speaking to people. Previously, I was kind of a very shy person. But again, I was like, this is what Jesus wants. So I had to have the courage and just get up and do it and leave the rest to God. The part that I liked best was the fact that, Jesus says he's with us until the very end. As much as you don't see him, but you have that confidence, that assurance, that as long as this is what he wants and you're doing it, then he's there with you.
I just liked being around other people who had a vision to serve God and others. I've never experienced it anywhere besides here. We all try to help each other out, become even better people than we were. You don't have to worry about anything. God provides you with everything, so it's not like you have to save up money to go on vacation or anything. Really feel like I'm always on vacation.
I think the roughest situation that I've had to endure is a period where I was working in a third world country, and I picked up a kind of an illness that hung around for about a year and a half, and that was a very hard time for me. There's been a few times that the community has set a particular reward or a goal to reach in terms of witnessing to people over the course of a year, and at the end of the year we basically gave ourselves a prize for reaching a certain amount of people. And one of those times we went to a resort on the coast of Kenya, and I really enjoyed that. I really loved the ocean, just spent days just bathing in the ocean. It was brilliant.
How many people do you know who have a garden like this in their backyard? I woke up this morning and stepped out into this garden. And tomorrow, it may be a different one. We have 100 times more variety in our lives than you could ever get by being trapped in one building for the rest of your life.
Hey, don't listen to Cherry. The reason each of us sees our lifestyle as being so good is that we came expecting nothing. If you come because you think it'll be luxury on Easy Street for the rest of your life, you're going to end up disappointed. See, it's all in your attitude, and it's why the prosperity gospelers are so popular. At the same time, it explains why the followers are never really happy.
Vivir en comunidad ha sido muy positivo para mis hijos, poder ser disciplinados o guiados por hermanos que hacen parte de la comunidad. Se han abierto más a poder contarme cada una de sus necesidades o lo que piensan, y ha crecido mucho el amor que nos sentimos. En el caso de mi hijo de 12 años, se ve muy entusiasmado en cada una de las actividades que ha hecho en conjunto con algunos hermanos de la comunidad, y él me ha expresado que se siente muy feliz, se siente muy acompañado.
Everything kind of hurts sometimes, but you can still get over it. It's not like hard, at least for me. It's kind of like a family. Feels like a family. It is a family. I can play games that I like playing with other people.
Me gustaría que más personas se sumen para jugar. Me gusta más lengua, más me gusta leer. Mi mamá me enseña. Me gusta que mamá me enseñe. Me enseñó desde que tenía 3 años, así que es normal. Hay algunas cosas que no me gustan, que me irriten.
Discipline's always hard, but maybe living in a community is a little more hard. Every kid gets disciplined, so it's not that unusual. The best part, I think, is being able to travel around and being able to visit different places, have homeschooling, and having your parents around. Going from Kenya to Australia, that was great. Especially going on the planes and watching the movies and having this really nice food.
Lo que no me gusta es vivir sin mi abuela. Antes vivía, pero al final no pudimos. Me gusta jugar con todos. Me gusta dormir arriba del lomo. Estar tranquilo. Me gusta estar tranquilo.
The hardest thing when I first started, I think, was giving up a pair of boots I had and cutting my hair. I had long hair down past my shoulders and I cut that off, I think, in the first few days of joining the movement. I thought that to be radical, you had to kind of look radical, whereas the people I met actually looked pretty sort of respectable. That kind of made me question things again, like, you know, is dressing like a radical, does that really make you radical?
El proceso de aceptar cómo era ser un discípulo de Jesús fue un proceso muy difícil para mí, pero empecé a leerlas más detenidamente, las enseñanzas de Jesús, todo lo que Él hablaba. Empecé a interiorizarlas cada una y a comprenderlas de lo que el costo de que era poder seguir y vivir cada una de las enseñanzas.
I would say the hardest thing was humbling myself and learning from other people because I came from such a churchy background. The biggest convenience I missed is playing video games.
I think the part I like best was a sense of adventure. Moments when I feel kind of dry or I feel like I just need some kind of change. It's not always the most pleasant change, but it's always something that causes you to grow. And that continual growth makes this continually interesting as well.
What I liked best was that we should listen to what Jesus really had to say, and that's all I could talk about. It's all that was in my mind. But where I was, nobody liked to talk about it. Coming here, it's like, it's Jesus in almost everything we do. The roughest situation is going out and trying to preach the gospel to the people, trying to get them to hear you and what you're saying. You start to see how Jesus suffered when he wasn't accepted.
Pues viajar de ciudad en ciudad y llevando el mensaje de Jesús, pues me gusta, es interesante conocer y trabajar todos los días llevando el mensaje de alguna manera u otra o aprendiendo, creciendo espiritualmente.
I sometimes miss certain conveniences, but mainly it's more of the carnal things. Like for me, I like to sleep, so I would like to go to sleep more. The most interesting thing I've done since living like this would have to be just the day-to-day conversations that you have with people whenever you go out and witness. Because everybody has a story, everybody has a past, everybody has an experience. It's kind of like you're going into their bubble, you're going into their space. And by doing that, you get to know them. The most luxurious situation since I started living by faith would have to be getting a house on 40 acres of land that was offered to us for free. And we were there for 2 weeks having Bible studies and fellowship where we had an overly abundance amount of food. In the mindset of you don't know where you're going to be tomorrow, and then suddenly having a house offered to you is a miracle in my eyes.
Back when I was in the system, I didn't have time, I didn't have money to actually go around and travel, go visit places. And now that I literally don't have any money, I've been traveling more than whenever I had money. And that's incredible.
The part I like the best is where we talk about God 24/7 pretty much. Is almost our conversation almost always revolves around God. And in contrast to my old life, where I could really hardly find anybody that wanted to talk about God and serving God and obeying God.
Las cosas que me gustan son cuando los demás cuentan sobre su vida y los milagros que le han pasado. Salir a repartir se siente bien cuando la gente te acepta y te escucha y escucha sobre el mensaje de Jesús.
The most interesting thing I've done since living this way is probably going out and spreading the gospel. I mean, it's interesting. You meet new people and you see a different face every day. The roughest situation I've had to endure since living by faith is probably my own dealings with myself. You know, my pride, my greed. It's not really dealing with anybody else. It's dealing with myself, trying to make myself line up with Jesus' teachings.
I'd have to say the most interesting thing I've done would have to be just traveling across the U.S. Ever since I've started living by faith, I've been to about 4 or 5 different states.
The hardest part for me was getting on buses one after the other. I was not able, moving from one bus to another very fast. I was a bit scared, but with time, I've been making it.
The hardest thing for me was to learn to wake up to the needs around me and actually try and tend to them and help others out, because I was so used to being selfish.
It's exciting not knowing what each day will bring sometimes. It can be very spontaneous because you're not held back. Sometimes I would like to not have to counsel so much because I was living by myself previously and I didn't have to worry about when I had dinner or meeting up with other people. But ultimately I see that as a good thing, even though it's taken a bit to get used to, of living with a lot of people. I have to work harder now that I'm living by faith, though I'm working more than I used to because I have the support of the community. It's more fun working with people who have the same vision as you, whereas I used to work with people who I didn't share beliefs with.
La parte que más me gustó de integrarme a la comunidad es estimularnos unos a otros a seguir y practicar las enseñanzas de Jesús, a corregirnos mutuamente, que son beneficios que no se obtienen cuando uno vive solo o cuando vive con personas que no siguen a Jesús. Lo más difícil, sacrificar la privacidad.
The most interesting thing I've done since living in a community, probably living in a motorhome, because you can take your house around, drive your house around wherever you want.
I think I most enjoyed the feeling of a clear conscience that comes from knowing that you're doing the right thing. I remember feeling it's funny that we've chosen a lifestyle of voluntary poverty, and yet we decided as a community to celebrate and involve our parents in a bit of a celebration by going on a cruise, and that was quite luxurious.
Bueno, cuando recién arrancaba, lo que veía más difícil era hacer una prédica y decir las palabras correctas, poniendo en oración, dejando que Dios me utilizara, y mejoré un poco en eso. Puede ser una ocasión que habíamos decidido ponernos una meta en diciembre. Hicimos todo el esfuerzo para cumplirla, así que llegamos a la meta y habíamos decidido darnos un premio. Fuimos a un lugar muy interesante, era un lugar así en la naturaleza, y haber compartido con mis hermanos alimentos que normalmente no comemos. Así que ese día compramos carne, pollo, algunas, no recuerdo bien, creo que algunas friambrerías. Para mí fue un gran lujo.
Sometimes we may, as a reward, go to a buffet or something, to a nice restaurant, things like that. But that's kind of rare for us. But when it happens, it's a nice treat.
Como Jesús dice, ¿no? Que mis hermanos son los que hacen la voluntad de mi papá. Siento que así es, y me gusta eso, sentir que somos una gran familia. Nos han llevado a comer a restaurantes sin tener un peso y estando en restaurantes que de un cierto nivel, y nada, para mí era bastante sorprendente.
Being sick, there's times in Africa where I was quite sick with malaria. We live a lifestyle that other people dream of, and yet at the same time they're afraid of it, and I don't understand why. Because every day we get up and we decide what it is we want to do, where we want to go, you know. We're not tied down by bills and requirements to be in a job at a certain time, certain place. I think the most interesting thing would be going to Africa and India, traveling all over the place, going into like environments that the average person wouldn't dare do, you know, and just having that confidence that God is looking after you and that you don't have to worry. I think that's great.
I had something of a boyfriend as well, living in another country, and so giving up that relationship was difficult.
I think the most luxurious thing that I've experienced since living by faith was international air travel. I've been able to travel a lot, and I thank God for that.
Más difícil fue quebrantar con mi orgullo y con otros malos hábitos que tenía, también poder compartir en una pieza con varias personas y niños, en particular niños. Venía de una familia bastante materialista y yo una vida cómoda, así que siempre tenía mis comodidades. No hay privacidad, creo que cuando querés charlar algo tenés que buscar la manera, ya sea afuera, en la terraza o en una pieza cerrada con las puertas, cerrar las puertas.
I could spend time reading the Bible, I could spend time sharing my faith, I could spend time writing Christian songs, I could spend time talking with other Christians, brothers and sisters, sharing ideas, edifying one another. So that was the best part of it. I would say the most difficult situations I've had to go through have been resolving tensions when those tensions become very heated, or when people get kind of stuck into their own positions and are not willing to consider alternatives.
La situación más dura es que, en cuanto a espiritualmente, que he sentido que era con respecto a la crianza de mi hijo, de poder entender la importancia de poder disciplinarlo en varias áreas y aspectos. Era muy, muy desafiante para mí tener esa mentalidad de que no lo hago porque estoy siendo mala, sino que lo hago porque realmente lo estoy amando. Me gusta tener un par de zapatillas que no me hagan doler los pies. Tener un par de zapatillas de marca o algo así que jamás no lograba conseguir algo como eso. Hoy en día Dios me lo provee y es algo muy lindo. Y otra cosa es como tener una cama para mí sola. Así que es como muy lujoso poder tener una cama.
Being able to talk about our dreams in the morning, because I did believe that God spoke in dreams, and most people just shrugged me away anytime I thought there was something God was telling me and brought it up to their attention. The type of conveniences that I am slightly missing about my past life is maybe eating pizza every single night. I miss a bit because I love pizza. Anyone who knows me knows that.
Antes en el mundo es como que en lo que vivía yo, prácticamente nadie me decía nada de lo que yo hacía, las decisiones que tomaba, que hacía con mi dinero y todo eso. Pero en una comunidad cristiana eso no puede ser así, porque todos somos parte de un cuerpo y tiene que haber unidad entre los discípulos, porque si no funciona. Cuando empecé a vivir por fe, lo que más me gustó era poder así enfocarme más en hacer algo con valor eterno, que va a tener un efecto que dura para siempre, basado en el amor, ¿no?
A gentleman in Houston, Texas took me and the brothers I was with to IHOP for breakfast when we were on a faith outreach, as well as offered us to use his shower and his washer and dryer.
My favorite thing is seeing how my presence, just by presenting them with the teachings of Jesus, I can see them being touched by it. I've had people who suddenly they tear up for no reason. I don't even know them, they just bend over and give me a hug, like a big hug. The most luxurious situation since I started living my faith, it would be the first day I came, that first night that I showed up. It was 2 a.m. and I didn't even know these people. They all stayed up till 2 waiting for me. They had food waiting, they had hugs waiting. There was so much love for me because I didn't even know these people.
If you've been inspired by what you have seen and would like to be put in touch with other believers who are practicing Jesus' teachings in your part of the world, please write to this email address on the screen now. And if you'd like to learn more, please check out Part 2, Living in a Christian Community, where we take a closer look at what it means to forsake all, how to balance faith and finances, and how we manage relationships inside and outside of the community. And if you haven't subscribed already, please do. And click on the bell icon if you wish to be notified when new videos become available.